Today we're shooting out tons of different compressors from API, Chandler, Stam Audio and Spectra Sonics and the like on a heavy rock drum loop to find out which is the best compressor for drum bus. So why did I end up doing this? Well, I've been using an API 2500 on my mix or drum bus for quite a while now, and it usually does some magical things on both of them. But I didn't want to have two of them, so when Stam Audio recently released their 500 series SSL type compressor, I thought, hey, I could put that on a mix bus and put the API on drum bus and probably get all the magic on drums that I would like out of the API that way and everything else from the SSL type, but I didn't like it at all on mix bus. It just seemed too pumped too much for my liking. So I put it on drum bus and was honestly quite impressed. Especially in combination with the API and mix bus, it seemed to add a little bit of like some spank to the drums that I really liked. So this is the drum sound I ended up with. Yeah, sure, there's another compressor on my mix bus, but I promise you it only does a little bit of tube goodness and rounds off the transients a little bit. So let's have a listen to the sample without any processing to it, then the full mix bus, and then the full mix bus without the SSL style compressor. See, it adds some nice spank to the drums, and I especially like what it does to the kick drum. But now we're stuck in a dilemma. Maybe some other compressor that I wasn't using as a drum compressor would be a really good drum bus compressor, and I just didn't know. So I ended up trying them all. Well, all of them that I thought could be any good. First of all, my Chandler Germanium compressors, which I quite like, and I sometimes use on drum bus actually. This one's rather subtle because I ended up focusing on the initial peaks. Next up is the API and the SSL. Between all these, I really liked the SSL and also the API 2500 in alt style a lot. If I had to choose one of them, I'd probably choose the API 2500 over the Stam Audio SSL style, but I like the combination of them more than the individual ones. Now we're going to hit all of those compressors a little bit harder. First of all, the API and two different settings on the Germanium compressor. I really like what the Germanium compressor does to the transients, especially if you'd end up mixing that in parallel. But it's probably a bit much if it was just on your drum bus that way. It's a bit unfortunate that I didn't like the way it sounded with longer snare tails, because that would have been very interesting as well, but yeah, it didn't work on that, so oh well. Next up is the Stam Audio SSL type compressor, being hit a bit harder as well, and a Stam Audio 1176 revision A, D and F. Don't be fooled by the front plate, it's actually F and not G. However, it's a mono compressor, so I ran the left and right channels independently through the compressor. I really like the Stam SSL compressor on kick drum, and I think I prefer revision F on the snare, but all of them are really cool. Well, technically there's already a revision F 1176 on the snare, just early in the signal chain, because I really like an 1176 on snare. Anywho, next up is an ADR Compex 2, and I've put it next to the API 2500 because it sounds somewhat similar and I really like it. When I bought the Compex, I knew that would also make a really nice drum compressor, but I wanted to use it for vocals mostly because I already have the Germanium compressor that I like on drum bass, and the API 2500, which I also really like on drum bass, and now also the Stam compressor. So yeah, I don't think I need to, but now listening to it, it's yeah, anyways. Lastly, I wanted to add the Spectrasonics, well, Spectra 1964 C610, but I had too much fun distorting either the snare or the bass drum with it. So yeah, I threw in a vintage Lomo Soviet Channelstrip that I use for distorting bass guitar. It sounds fun, it's distorted, you know. The Spectrasonics is such an amazing compressor. I love the way you can distort stuff with it. But now the question is, which compressor did I like best out of all of them? It's honestly hard to tell. I really like the ADR Compex 2 and the API 2500, especially in alt, which is probably always my preferred compression type, the feedback mode. And the Stam SSL is really nice, and the 1176s are nice. But I think if I had to choose just one out of all of them, I would go with the API 2500. It is, after all, a really, really nice compressor, and there's a reason why a lot of people really like it on drum bass. But to prove a point that you don't really need an inexpensive hardware compressor in order to do your drum bass duties, I just plugged some numbers into the Fabfilter Pro C2 and the Cubase standard default whatever compressor thing without very much attention to detail, and well, judge for yourself. They sound different, and in my opinion they sound worse. Just yeah, they sound kind of similar, kind of very different as well, but very much depends on who's listening to your mix, I guess, and how happy you are with the results. But that hasn't even been fair to those compressors. Like, I've not tried to make them sound good, I've just plugged some numbers in that sounded kind of similar in a couple of minutes. But like, none of this was fair to any of the compressors. Comment below which one you like best out of all of them, and I also don't mind if you'd subscribe to the YouTube channel. Anyway, that's the show for today. Thank you very much for watching. Au revoir.